Hi, this video is intended to help my students that are taking my hybrid math classes to help them be successful as they can in the class, knowing the steps to take in the learning process to go from hearing about a new concept in math and mastering that concept, being able to apply it. So I'm going to start with an analogy. It's not maybe a perfect analogy, but hopefully it'll create some images and be helpful. So, talking about building a house of understanding. Wisdom builds a house of understanding, kind of a takeoff of Proverbs 24:13, I think. So we're going to look at the wisdom of building a conceptual house, a house that a concept, in our case math, a math concept can take home, make their home in. Okay, so we're talking about retention and understanding. So what are some wise steps that we can take to build a house that a concept or concepts can abide in, meaning we've mastered the understanding and the use of particular math concepts, whether it be slope, all kind of, whatever type of things that we're learning in our class, Pythagorean theorem, area of a regular polygon, whatever things. Okay, so I've summed it up with listen and apply. It's based on Proverbs 23:12, which this is a word from God. He's made us. He knows how we're wired, so He knows how we can learn. And it says, apply your heart to instruction, okay, and your ears to words of knowledge. So we need to listen and hear words of knowledge that would come from a teacher, a parent, an author. We need to hear those words, and then we need to apply our heart to that instruction, meaning we need to wrestle with it and do what is needed to understand the instruction so that we can own it and make it our own. Okay, so let's look at the wisdom in building a conceptual house by listening and applying. So let's take that a little further. How does that look in my hybrid classes? I look at the listening part as building the foundation of the house. You know that foundation is essential. Without a solid foundation, nothing can be built upon it. It won't last. It won't work properly. So we listen by hearing the instructor, by asking questions when we hear something that we don't understand, and also I have noticed I have here it says record. I'm talking about note taking. As a learner, as a lifelong learner, you need to experiment and see how you best learn. But for me, and I think for most, taking notes is helpful. It'll help you listen. I say by you purposing to take notes, you're subconsciously saying, okay, I've got to find the key points and summarize those in my own words and put them down on paper. So it causes you to listen, but it also helps you in retention. So think of listening as building the foundation of your home, your conceptual house, for understanding. All right, and then we apply what we've learned. Okay, and in our case, that comes through homework and quizzes. Okay, that the application helps us build further the house of understanding. It gives us practice for retention, but it also helps us to locate where our understanding may be missing. Okay, because you got to get this when you're in class and you're receiving instruction, you may say, "Oh, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. That makes sense." But not until you try to do it yourself do you really know that you understood it and retained it. And so you may find that it makes sense, but then you lose it because you never applied, you never did homework, you never did practice, you never assessed yourself. Okay, so the homework is the first step in building a wall of understanding where you retain what's been taught, or locating where there's gaps in your understanding where you need to go back and get some more building material from your teacher. Okay, and same thing in this class we have practice tests, which is again a way to locate yourself and to continue practicing and letting that cement of understanding solidify so that you retain what you've heard and learned. Okay, so listen and apply. And we're going to look at, again, we're going to dig a little deeper about listening, okay? Well, in this slide I've got tests. So the test is that last step. It proves that you have built a house of understanding. It shows what you know, okay, and that solidifies the house. All right, so let's go back to listening. How do we listen? We read it in our particular class. As you know, every learning resources are posted online and with videos and so forth. So the first thing you need to do as far as learning a new concept is you need to go to the proper lesson on the website based on the chapter and the section. Again, you know, like here I've got chapter 5, writing linear equations, opened up. We have 5.1, the little paper there that tells me there's resources there. 5.2, and then these are our assignments. So go to the proper place based on where you're at, and read the introduction to the video. Mostly it's posed in the form of questions. Do you know what intercepts are? Do you know how to determine an x and y intercept and so forth? If you can't answer these questions properly, then watch the video. And by reading it, it primes you to know what to look for in understanding the concepts. So then you watch the video and you notice this one's about 14 minutes long. I keep them under 15 minutes. I may have, for one section, I may have 3 videos that are maybe 5, 6, 7 minutes each. Okay, so watch the video. What do you do while you're watching the video? Okay, have paper and pencil in hand. Take notes. Again, you're purposing to listen and to draw out of what's being said what you need. Okay, so take notes. All right, while you're listening. You know, a picture's worth 1,000 words. So if you're not really familiar with how you learn, you may want to just copy every example down that's in the video, and that will help you. That'll slow your mind down, because you can pause the video. It'll slow your mind down, and then you know you're watching it at the pace you need to watch it at, because you're trying to, by taking notes, you're trying to summarize in your own words what you're hearing. So it'll slow down what's being said for you and help you to capture what's being said. So notes, experiment with that. Take notes. Okay, it'll help with understanding and retention and listening. And then after the video, if you're having trouble understanding, if I didn't cover something well enough, or you need to hear it a different way, or you need, whatever, look at the textbook. And for further clarification, go to Khan Academy or something like that if need be. Okay, so that's listening. Okay, now that we've listened, we're ready to apply. Do the assigned homework. Okay, you'll have odd and evens, odd numbers like number 11 or whatever. Don't skip the step. Go to the back of the book and check your answer, your solution, to see if you did it correctly. Okay, you're being responsible. You're being diligent, and this is allowing you to self-assess yourself. Do I understand what's being required of me? What I need to learn here? Okay. So check your odds, and then you locate yourself. There may be a problem that you can't get understanding on, that you need to ask for help in class. Submit the answers to the evens online, and then allow yourself enough time to get your assignment entered, submitted, and then to be able to go back, give me some time to grade it, add any possible comments, and so then you go back and you check. Okay, what did I miss? Okay, are there any comments to help me on this? All right, let me go back with what I missed to the book or to the video, and let me try this again. Let me email the teacher or whatever. Okay, try to get understanding on yourself, and if that doesn't work, then come to class prepared with questions for clarification. Okay, questions are the beginning place of learning. All right, so it's not until you have a question that you don't, that's like you're locating that piece of real estate for your house with questions. Okay, so steps A, B, and C either help in retaining the concepts being taught or in pinpointing where understanding is lacking. Okay, so this part is very important. Homework may only be 10% of your grade, but it's 90% of learning, elastically speaking. All right, and so I have a picture here of, again, online. This page represents an assignment. Here's an example of somebody turned in an assignment. They're going back and checking it. Number 4, they got correct. Number 6, they missed. And here's a little tip. The slope will be greater and the intercept less. Okay? And so forth. That may not mean much if you're not knowing the context of it, but again, look for comments. Okay? So now you're prepared. You know what you understand, you know where you're lacking understanding. Now you're prepared to come to class and ask for further help, for further clarification. Okay? And that's listening. You're listening again, you're coming to class. So having reviewed the results of the given assignment, come to class, ready to ask questions. Okay? And then another part of applying is the practice test. Okay, this is the last step in finishing your house of understanding. It enables you and the teacher to evaluate yourself. What concepts have I mastered? What do I still need work on? Okay, so you take the practice test, you submit your answers, check your results, and remember you have 2 opportunities to submit your practice test. So you look at the first submission. What did I get wrong? Can I correct it myself? Okay. Remember, you're allowed to use your book and your notes when you're taking the practice test. Okay, so after checking the result of your resubmission, prepare questions about anything you may still have trouble with and ask them in class before the test. Okay, so by following these steps, you should have a house of understanding that wisdom and diligence has built. And now you're ready to show what you've learned on a test, the given concepts. If you take these steps, you'll find that, having put in the work, what Proverbs 13:9 says, a desire accomplished is sweet to the soul. You desire to learn, you desire to demonstrate that you've learned, you desire the kudos, the pat on the back from parents or peers or whatever for a good grade. And so when you put the work in, there's just going to be this inner joy, this inner sense of accomplishment. Because you've put the work in and you've accomplished something. So remember that, and I think that is it. So again, building a house of understanding with wisdom, listen and apply. How can you listen? How can you apply? Follow those steps that we just went over. Okay, thank you for listening, and I hope this helps you to become a lifelong learner.